Since Jesus' trial had been highly irregular, Caiaphas, being a cautious man, knew that he had to have a formal sentence. So he called the entire Sanhedrin into session as day broke. Now the wisest and most influential of the leaders, men who might not have agreed to the irregularities of the trial, were present. Since the sentence had already been decided upon, even these men felt free to advise on how it might be carried out. It was decided to lay emphasis only on the political aspect of Jesus' claim, if charges became necessary before Pilate. And so, having agreed on their strategy, they led Jesus, bound, to Pilate's palace. It was very early. They wanted the deed done quickly, and because of the Passover, they had only till sundown of that same day. Pilate was annoyed at this intrusion. He wanted as little to do with these people as possible. Now they had another complaint which he didn't understand, but he sensed that it concerned their religion. He suggested they judge it according to their laws. This did not satisfy them at all. They wanted the death penalty, and this they could not impose legally. The Jewish leaders told him, "We found this fellow inciting the nation and forbidding to pay taxes to Caesar, saying that he himself is Christ, a king." Pilate realized that jealousy motivated two of these accusations. It must have amused him in some small way to hear these leaders protest their indignation at Jesus' supposed defiance of Rome. Pilate's government was efficient enough to allow him to know that this was a gross untruth. He wanted no part of these accusations. Pilate asked Jesus, "Are you a king?" Jesus answered, "Yes, I am a king." So Pilate returned to the people and said, "I find no fault with him." And this brought a storm of protest and accusations. Pilate turned to Jesus and asked, "Don't you hear what these people are saying? Have you nothing to answer?" Jesus said nothing. Pilate was amazed. The accusations continued. "He's a troublemaker among the people. He teaches throughout all of Judea, from Galilee to this place." What was this? Someone said this accused man was a Galilean. Pilate then saw a chance to pass the responsibility, and he did with dispatch. Herod had come to Jerusalem for the Passover, and he was responsible for Galilee. Immediately, Pilate sent Jesus to Herod. This pleased Herod. He had wanted to see this Jesus. Perhaps he would perform one of these supernatural tricks, miracles they were called. But Jesus didn't perform for him. And Herod, too, did not understand what it was all about. So he sent Jesus back to Pilate. The incident was short. It might have been considered a political courtesy. But by this attempt to evade responsibility, an old enmity was healed between Pilate and Herod. Pilate called the leaders of the people back to his palace. When they had assembled, he told them, "I've examined this man, and neither Herod nor I can find anything that he has done to deserve death. I will teach him a lesson and let him go." The soldiers took Jesus away to scourge him. Then Pilate remembered the custom of releasing a prisoner at Passover. He had one who was so universally feared that he felt that here he could give a choice that would really not be a choice at all. Surely the leaders would not want Barabbas free again. As he was preparing to offer the choice, word came to Pilate from his wife, "Have nothing to do with that innocent man. I have suffered a great deal in dreams last night because of him." And Pilate became even more disturbed. By the time Pilate made his offer, the Sanhedrinists had stirred the mob to frenzy, and Pilate was staggered by their frantic demand for Barabbas. In desperation, Pilate brought Jesus out, scourged and dressed in an old purple robe with a crown of thorns on his head. "Behold the man." And the cry came back louder and more insistent, "Crucify him." Pilate, still unconvinced, but afraid to stand by his convictions, called for a basin of water. In view of the people, he washed his hands and, proclaiming his innocence in the matter, said loudly, "I am innocent of the blood of this just man. See to it yourselves." The people, still stirred up by the Sanhedrinists, roared back to him, "His blood be on us and on our children." So Pilate gave Jesus up to be crucified. Pilate was mistaken about several things during the brief trial of Jesus. But throughout his dealings, he tried to evade the issue, sidestep responsibility. He could find nothing amiss in him, yet he delivered him to be crucified. A word from Pilate would have ended the matter, but this would have caused unpleasantness, perhaps repercussions. Pilate was a careful man in some matters. He did not want to become involved. He washed his hands and became more deeply involved. Had Pilate believed the accusations, the crucifixion of Jesus would, in his sight, have been justified. He did not. So he acted against everything he felt and knew to be right in becoming party to the death of a man he considered just. How often do we wash our hands? We don't want to become involved. We brush dirty politics under the rug, shrug at marital infidelity, turn from the problems of human rights and human needs. How often do we sidestep what might be unpleasant, refuse to champion what we know is right, and condemn what is wrong? How often do we remain uninvolved? Yet we are all involved by the compelling injunction of the Lord: love one another.